Welcome back to On the Couch with Lisa Sukdev. As we continue our electoral series, we have in studio today MEC Ravi Pillay from the ANC. Welcome, Mr. Pillay. We're really grateful that you were able to make time to join us.
Thank you for the warm welcome and hello to the viewers.
Thank you. Can you tell us to what degree the ANC is able to translate your manifesto at ward level?
Well, that is the key challenge, isn't it? I think the President at the manifesto launch put it very explicitly that our people want the basic services, water, electricity, sanitation, refuse removal, to be reliable and uninterrupted. They also want us to work with local businesses to create jobs, but also very importantly, I think for the South African context, having regard to our history, it's important to keep people united and not have divisive issues polarize us, which causes the kind of tensions that you've seen in the recent past. So to be able to translate that, you need to have effective councillors. I think the message the President Cyril Ramaphosa has been given, we want responsive councillors, councillors who put the interests of our people first and not their own, and then to be accessible, to empathize, to be in contact, and then to be able to provide that link with the machinery of the state. That if it's in the municipality level, then the water services unit, know how the system works and who to talk to identify problems, to escalate it and solve the problems. I mean, people don't want to generally have their own lives to lead, and we take water for granted. We want it to be there because that's the way things are. But when there's an issue, and even when there's no issue, but you can see an issue coming, to act proactively to prevent it. So translating it into the ground requires active councillors of that kind of nature.
So may I ask a question, and only because it's common perception maybe. What has the ANC done to ensure that their candidates and their councillors are indeed competent? And I think second to that would be, what is the ANC's plan to ensure that where councillors are not fulfilling their competencies, that they plan to hold them accountable?
Well, look, firstly, I think you would have read that there was an adjusted selection process. I think we're the only party who has a mass-based approach. There's not some small committee that's selecting candidates. It comes from the ground. Our branches are central to that. But because of difficulties and challenges that we identified, we added an additional level, which was a community meeting. And at a community meeting, you didn't even need to be a member of the ANC to come there and have an input as to who the candidate should be. Now we're hoping that will have a qualitative impact on who the candidates are, that the candidates are popular, that the candidates are well known. Okay, some of them are disputed, and we have some disputes which we actually have had to say that we will deal with those disputes after the election. But the point is that process is intended to have a genuine outcome from the ground. So that's the first level. The second level is to have continuous training of councillors. You need technical skills. It is a difficult one because you might find somebody who is very popular on the ground and has a basic common sense about things, but might not even have a matric. So that should not disqualify the person. So you need to have a balance between those two requirements. At the same time, it's not I think can't be disputed that many actions of governance these days are sophisticated. You need to be able to study a budget and identify the items. There's policy frameworks. How does the indigent policy work? You need to understand it if you're going to be able to explain it to people and then access the system. So it is a balance to be struck between being democratically representative, as in popular, versus a basic line of skills that will enable you to do the job.
You made a comment while we were off air, and you said that there's no secret that there are divisions within the ANC. And What I'm curious about is how is the party managing that, and how is the party proactively ensuring that we don't end up in the same position that we were recently with the unrest and the looting?
Well, that's the key issue, and I think having regard to the size of the ANC, at this point in time in history at any rate, if the ANC succeeds, the country succeeds. If the ANC has difficulties, the country has difficulties. So it's a patriotic desire, and of course having regard to the history of the ANC, that it's very, very important to solve that particular challenge. And I think President Cyril Ramaphosa is best placed to do that. He is doing that. He's identified a united, renewed, revitalized ANC as being essential to the success of the ANC and the country for that matter. So how are we doing it? It's by engaging, by persuading, by being firm as well. I mean, the fight against corruption is on. I mean, and I'm sure you will have other parties whose A to Z of their narrative is about that. They've got nothing really else. But you must be blind if you cannot see that fight is on, whether it's the Zondo Commission, whether it's the work of the SIU, whether it's Shamila Botoi in the NPA, whether it's the work of the Asset Forfeiture Unit. And I think there's a growing realization that you cannot do things with impunity. I certainly see it in the terrain that I work in, and that's a good thing. The battle is far from over. Corruption worldwide is a problem, right? I mean, if you go to India, some would say that ours is a picnic compared to what goes on there. But the point is that we must not belittle it. It's a challenge that must be central to our work going forward. But it mustn't be paralyzed. It's one serious, important program, but then there are a whole lot of other programs that have to go on, growing the economy, skills development, state of education. The vaccination program and defeating COVID-19 is actually the #1 priority for the economy to really open. So there are many, many tasks that we have.
Okay. So, what I want you to do is, if you'd share with our viewers, and there's quite a few of them that are very interested to hear what the ANC is doing and why the ANC deserves their vote, other than the historical facts and the fight for struggle and the struggle for liberation and equality. Would you share with our viewers as a parting point why they should vote for the ANC?
Well, firstly, the historical facts are important. It's important because it gives you credibility, it talks about sustainability, and it talks about the reality of the makeup of our population and how that reflects on our history. I often say, unfortunately, one of our challenges that we have to deal with is the toxic overlap between poverty and inequality. Between race and inequality. There's a toxic overlap between race and inequality. So that results in tension. So we've got to grow the economy for everyone. Economic growth and transformation are two sides of the same coin. And that's a central task. Everything else becomes peripheral if you don't solve that particular basic question. And therefore it's only the ANC that has the ability to be able to navigate that particular issue. But at the same time, I think under President Cyril Ramaphosa, nobody can dispute that the message of renewal of the ANC, revitalization of the ANC, and uniting the ANC are central to that particular program. And that's going to be good for everyone. There are smaller parties, and I think that's good. We are a democracy. We chose a proportional representation system because we wanted everybody's voices to be heard. Many of them are patriotic, and I think they can add a constructive or make a constructive contribution to the bigger task. I think people will judge as to there are others who are positively dangerous in my view. I think they are destructive, and people must be able to make their judgments about that. As far as the ANC is concerned, in responding to your question sharply, I think, believe President Cyril Ramaphosa. I think he's very serious. I certainly am inspired by him. He is uniting the ANC, renewing the ANC, revitalizing the ANC, dealing with the problems of corruption, understanding that basic services requires effective local government, and that's a task going forward, the transformation of local government. And then finally, and very importantly, growing the economy for everyone to create the jobs we need, but also to keep society together. In most post-colonial states, there is a critical point at which things change. I think the ANC has outlasted many other liberation movements in that task. But let's be frank also, we admit we made mistakes. We admit we made serious mistakes, but are fixing them, and that under Cyril Ramaphosa's leadership, that is the best prospect of success. And we ask you to support Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC in this election and the candidates that are put forward under the banner of the African National Congress.
Thank you so much, MEC. It was
you.
a pleasure to have you.
And you to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, viewers, we're encouraging you come the 1st of November to get up, get out, get to a polling station and to make your mark. This is your right and it's free to exercise it, and we need you to. So won't you please? The local elections are just around the corner. Join me tomorrow when we speak to the leader of the Active Citizens Coalition, Imtiaz Sayed. Hear what he has to say and why you should vote for his party.